Alright, what's going on? So you're probably wondering, how did I get here? Is this just another NorCal cycling impression video? Basically. But my name's Matt. I am a dude who's been biking for a while. I got into road biking over quarantine, and I've started up doing crit races. So I have high hopes for what I want to achieve, and I'm making these videos to document the progress. So this is the Lodi Criterium in Northern California. This is the CAT 5 race. This was back on, I think, June 27th. This is my fifth crit race of the season, and I was feeling pretty good. I've done some other crit races over the course of this process, but here we are. Some stats about me. I weigh about 162, 165 pounds. My FTP last time I tested was about 256. So my watts per kilo is right under 3.5. I've got a background in mountain biking, but road biking is new to me. And here we go. First race that I'm doing this commentary on, but like fourth or fifth race of the season. So I started out, and I was feeling good here, and I just figured I would like sit on the front for a little while because I just like that sensation. I've been dropped from multiple races, and so being able to sit on the front just kind of feels good. I wasn't doing like a huge effort here. I was keeping the power around threshold, sometimes a little bit below, and I didn't have any illusions that I was going to keep this pace up for the whole day, but I kind of just wanted to do it. Let's see what happened. So this is downtown Lodi. This course is pretty cool. They closed off this downtown stretch, and so there were just a bunch of like businesses, a bunch of corners. So anyway, sitting on the front here, doing everything that they tell you not to do, but also just didn't feel like I was working too hard. My max heart rate is like 189, so 163, 162 is up there, but it's not. I'm not dying yet. Like once things start to hit like 175, 180, that's when I get in trouble. Yeah. So this field, it wasn't a huge field. There were probably, I think there were like 17 dudes in this field, and then I think some of them were like the 35 plus. So definitely not the biggest turnout for the races that I've been at, and it was kind of nice because my fitness was definitely allowing me to stay wherever I wanted to be in the pack. If I felt like pushing it a little bit, I could sort of drift towards the front and play there. If I wanted to do some mid-pack riding like I'm doing right now, that wasn't difficult. And then I also tried tail gunning for a bit on this course, and that worked pretty well too. So it's kind of nice going from the beginning of the season back in March when I got blown off the back of Chowchilla after like 2 or 3 weeks. It's the first crit of the season, to being able to like comfortably stay with the pack. So that was great. Let's see. So some other stuff about me. So I mentioned that I come from mountain biking. I'm also actually planning to race the Leadville 100 this year. The Leadville 100 is a mountain bike race in Leadville, Colorado, and it is brutal. This race is like 103 miles. There's like 12,000 feet of climbing over the course of the course, and it takes place at 10,000 feet above sea level, and at the highest point on the course you get up to almost 13,000 feet above sea level. So I've been training for Leadville since like, I don't know, January, February of this year, maybe February, March, and the fitness that I'm building for that race I think has really lent itself to performance and crits. What else would be interesting? What do people want to know about? The bike I'm riding, that might be interesting. So I am riding a Cannondale CAD 12. I've got some carbon carbon wheels I found on Craigslist. It's like the Bontrager Aeolus 3. Picked up the set for like $400, and they're lightweight, they roll well, and they're tubeless. I'm rocking like 28 millimeter tires, and my tire pressure is usually around 70 psi, which actually feels really good. Like the road surfaces don't feel harsh, and I feel really confident going into corners. There's a ton of grip, there's just more surface on the ground, so definitely a proponent of tubeless. It's a newer thing for me on road bikes, but I haven't had any bad experiences yet, and I've definitely noticed some performance improvements. So like I said, I've been training since like somewhere between January and March, and I've been using Trainer Road to train. I've been doing both indoor workouts and outdoor workouts. Fortunately, I have a power meter for my bike, and so I can do Trainer Road workouts outside. My first training block, I followed Trainer Road's sweet spot plan, and I saw my FTP jump from a starting place of about 221 watts, maybe 224, up to 241. And then, that worked, but the sweet spot, and I was doing the high volume plan as well, I should note that. So it was like, 9-ish hours a week, a lot of sweet spots. So I did that. I didn't finish all the workouts. I kind of listened to my body, and when things felt too hard or I just wasn't feeling great, I would do less intense workouts, or I'd skip workouts for the day. But even still, the sweet spot high volume was pretty brutal. And so after that 6-week block, I made a switch and started Trainer Road's polarized plan, which has you doing a bunch of endurance zone riding and then a couple of short high intensity zone riding. And I really liked that set of workouts. I would comfortably do hour and a half, 2-hour workouts inside, or 3 or 4 hour long rides outside at endurance pace, and then some short and intense rides, either mostly outside. And I came out of that block like feeling better. Like I didn't feel drained in the same way that I did on the sweet spot training plan. I had just been doing bigger rides and like seeing my body be able to handle like doing like 60, 70, 80 miles on a bike. I think my biggest ride during that was like 120 miles with 10,000 feet of climbing. And I saw an FTP bump. So my FTP went from 241 to 256 over the span of another 6 months or another 6 weeks or so, which was cool. And that kind of takes us to now. So I'm recording this on like July 3rd. I did my FTP test like a week ago, and I started I switched back to a sweet spot block. I figured, okay, I just did a polarized approach. I'll do sweet spot again to do, muscle confusion, and hopefully that spurs more body adaptations. But I gotta say, I just kind of hate the sweet spot. I did those workouts this week, and I'm just drained this weekend in a way that I really wasn't when I was doing my polarized stuff. So I think I'm gonna switch back to the polarized plan, so I can just keep riding a bunch. And if you follow, YouTube wormholes, there's a lot of, I think, proponents of the polarized approach, of a lot of high volume, low intensity, and high intensity, low volume, versus sweet spot of just kind of middle intensity all the time. So anyways, that's how I'm training. So I've seen an FTP bump of like 30-ish watts over the span of like 3 months, which is cool. My hope is to get my FTP up to 270 or so by Leadville, which is August 14th. It's July 3rd right now. That may or may not be possible, but I'm gonna just ride like 10-ish hours a week and see what happens. All right, cool. And then that's the other piece. It's just like my fitness has gotten to a point where I can think about what is happening in the race and notice what people are doing and make decisions for what I want to do, for how I'm gonna ride. And that's cool. So that's only step one though, right? Like I'm now at a place where I can make those decisions. The next step is like figuring out which decisions are the right decisions to make. And I don't know that there's a lot of room to improve in that arena. So yeah, we were about 10 minutes left in the race. Cat 5 races, they're only 30 minutes, super short. And it definitely felt like people were like jockeying for something. And yeah, I think in hindsight, like I definitely got caught up in some of this. I was like, ooh, I gotta be near the front. But we still had like, 5 or 6 laps to go, I would guess. We had 5 or 6 laps to go, and the field is tiny, and I was already in like the top 7 or 8 riders. And so I didn't like need to feel this sense of urgency that I felt, because the race was like right there. But I felt it, people around me definitely felt it, and lines started getting squirrely. So here I think is where calamity strikes. So coming along. There's just like a little bit of wheel sketch. We're going like, 4 wide into a corner. And then this guy gets caught and just whips around and gets taken out. Tough. It looked really bad. Like when he went down, I was like, shit, that guy is not going to be in great shape. But I was able to connect with him after the race, and he was bruised, but he was fine. So it's always good when people can walk away from a race and be okay. But I think the best case scenario is that you don't get into a situation where you get boxed in and then bump into somebody and crash. So that whole event, I think, also chilled out the race a little bit, so people weren't as aggressive after that happened, which I was a fan of. So I was just kind of following people. Alright, so here we go. We've got about a lap and a half to the finish line. So you can see here the field has basically stayed together. There was a guy who tried to do a solo attack off the front, but you can see that we're about to catch him up here. Wasn't sort of really something to worry about. The speed has picked up a bit, the power has picked up, and it seems like there is a group of like 8 to 10 of us who are making up the sort of final pack here. So again, like, my heart rate is at a reasonable place. I feel like I've got some decent energy. So I was really trying to think about like how I wanted to play this and what I was going to do. So like I said, I think that I don't know if I've said this, but I think I'm somebody who like has a decent sprint when I'm fresh. I can hit like a max power of around 1300 watts, and I can do 1100 watts for 10 seconds, and I weigh about 165 pounds, but that's when I'm fresh. In this race, as we will see, I was not able to do those numbers, and so one of the things that I'm working on for future races is conserving power so that my legs are fresher, so that I can potentially do some of those numbers in the final sprint. I want to just be fitter overall so that I am just like less gassed at the end, even if I have been conserving energy. And then the other piece of this, especially on a track like this, is just position. I want to take sort of better lines out of the last couple of corners. On this track, it's, there's a couple of windy turns when you come out. There's a couple of windy turns on the lead out to the finish line. And I just didn't put myself in a good position. I got pinched there and I had to brake. I would have liked to have been up a couple of wheels at this point, but you can see my heart rate is around 180. And that, for me, is high, but we're also at the end of the race, so that's fine. So you can see here I'm like maybe 7th back or something like that. I let the power drop here, and I probably shouldn't have done that. This guy got past me. And then I go ahead and try to open it up. I get up to almost 1,000 watts, but then things start to sort of dwindle, and everybody else is doing pretty decent numbers too, and so I just kind of stay where I'm at. I think I finished like 7th in the field and 5th in my sort of under 35 category. So not bad. I've done better, or actually this is probably the best I've done in a crit race, but looking forward to doing more, so we'll see how it goes.